This is Ayani.
And this is Corinne.
And you're listening to Sex, Love, Literature, a pop culture podcast where we take a semi-scholarly look at why
and how
the sex stuff in media matters.
Welcome to the third and final installment of our semi-accidental mini-series on the Chinese drama Lost You Forever.
You either really like us, or you really like Lost You Forever. And honestly, we appreciate you either way.
We know you've been waiting for it, so this episode we finally get to the last three main players fighting for Xiaoyao's heart. Fenglong of the Central Plains, Xiang Liu, everyone's favorite nine-headed sea snake demon man, and last but certainly not least, Tushan Jing, soft beta baby boy of the year.
If you also think Corinne is too mean to Fenglong and needs to stop throwing him under the bus, come to my aid on Instagram at SexLoveLit.
Look, if he didn't want to be thrown under the bus, then he maybe should have taken Xiaoyao on some weird little dates.
You know what,
right.
Corinne? Not gonna fight in the opening, okay?
Don't forget to subscribe to SLL on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms, and leave us a 5-star review.
All right, let's do it. Well, hello there, SLL listeners. Welcome back to part 3 of our Lost You Forever discussion.
And SLL first.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we are want to record episodes that are surprisingly 2 episodes. But this is the first time we've been surprised by 3 episodes.
You know what it is? It's because we planned for 2.
You're absolutely right. We could, if we planned for 1 episode, this would have just been 2. But that means you get more Lost You Forever content, which I guess also technically means that this is a Lost You Forever miniseries. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're welcome. It's the second SLL miniseries, I believe, after our Keywords miniseries.
Yes.
And maybe I will call it such in the titles. We'll see. But we didn't want to spend too long on banter, just acknowledging that we always talk a lot. And
we did start a podcast after all.
We did. So this is not, unexpected behavior. But super quick, since we kind of are in the habit of sparking joy at the start of our episodes, we're going to do another rapid fire round of what's sparking joy. Corinne, do you want to do a rapid fire description of what it is, just in case someone comes to this episode first for some reason?
So normally what's sparking joy is when we talk about something we are watching, reading, or listening to that is currently sparking joy for us. In the interest of getting right to it, we are actually each going to talk about our favorite song from the Lost You Forever OST. So do you want to go first, Diane?
Yeah, so for me, it is the folk song See and Miss One Another that's performed by Yingji, the actress who plays Xiaoyao. The first time we hear it is during a sequence where she is with Fenglong and his sister and Tushan Jing, and they're having a grand old time, and she does a dance and she sings, and the lyrics are so great. It's talking a lot about being with somebody and wanting to spend time with them, but also not being able to spend time with that person. It's really beautiful. I like it. It comes up a couple times over the course of the rest of the drama after that sequence, and I really like it. So that's my favorite. That's my choice.
I associate that one particularly with Xiaoyao and Tushan Jing's relationship, because it's very much about like life is a sequence of meetings and partings, and that is especially their vibe at that part of the show. Oh,
for sure. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, she sings it to him during that sequence, so I loved it. It had an impact on me, and I think about it often. What about you, Corinne?
My favorite is performed by Mao Buyi, and it is called With and Without You. And that's the one that's like, you're there in the rain, but not in the water. You're there like you're there in the evening, but not in the morning. It's like this very much like you're everywhere, but you're not here. And is this sort of like with and without you. And Ayani insists that it was played before this, but the first time it made an impact on me is in episode 30. Yeah, episode 30, when Xiaoyao dies. Man, that episode, I think that's my favorite episode of the whole I don't know if it's my actually, I don't know if it's my favorite episode of the whole show,
Hmm.
but it is the one where, like, watching that one, like, I don't think it felt like I wasn't breathing the whole episode.
Yeah. I was shocked.
Oh, yeah, it is shocking, but they play that song when Xiang Liu takes Xiaoyao's body away, um,
Mhm.
from Songchuan, and at that point, Tushan Jing is already in a coma, and it's very much like, I mean, obviously, like, Xiaoyao was going to live because of the show. It's too
Yes.
soon for her
Yeah.
to die.
Uh-huh.
I do not guarantee her survival by the end, but she wasn't gonna die in episode 30.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fair.
but, like,
Mhm.
that was very much a, like, all 3 of them, but especially Song Juan and Zhang at that point were like, "You're here, but you're not here."
Yeah.
So the song was like, "With and Without You" was very, very fitting and very sad.
Yeah, it's a sad one, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful song.
Mhm.
So those are our 2 favorite songs from the soundtrack, which is overall a very, very good soundtrack. And as Corinne mentioned in episode 1, that the full OST, along with the background music, is available now. So you should go check it out. We'll include links to the OST in the show notes with this episode as well, since we started off this way. But let's pick up the thread of our conversation from last episode. We were kind of doing a little bit of an angst about Sanjuan and
Yes.
what is going to come for him down the pipe in season 2. We don't know, but we've got some speculations that it's not going to be good.
Ooh.
So, yes, right? So, to start this episode, we figured we could start with Fenglong, who is kind of like Sanjuan's secondhand man, only because Xiaoyao is a woman again.
Mhm.
uh, so I like Fenglong. He's kind of like really down for the cause because of a first meeting that went very, very well. Fenglong is really in camp Sanjuan.
Mhm.
He would it be fair to say he's kinda like a prince of the Central Plains? Like, he's in line to be head of one of
Yeah,
the tribes,
he's
right?
in line to be the clan chief of the Chishui tribe, and he is also simultaneously descended from the Changrong royalty, so he's kind of like a double whammy if Songzhuan wants power in the Central Plains region.
So interesting. It's funny, it never clocked to me that he was also a descendant. I thought that his sister was, but he wasn't because of some familial stuff, but maybe if they're twins, then it's both of them. That's interesting. Sorry, something I never realized. Because family dynamics are fun in this show.
Oh, yeah, and also it's they're not always explicit about it in the drama, but, like, in any sort of drama where there are where there's a harem situation, even if people are siblings, chances of them having the same mother are low.
Mhm, mhm. So that's I guess that's part of the reason why I was like, I'm not quite sure they're full siblings, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it. So you have a question here in the outline of what kind of trope bucket does he fall into, right? As far as part of the harem men.
Yeah, because I feel like the other harem men have a pretty clear, like, romantic trope that they are filling. So,
Yeah,
like, with Song Juan, it's the childhood friend. With Zhang Liu, it's the potentially enemies to lovers. And
right.
we can talk about Tushan Jing. But Fong Long, I think part of why he's maybe confusing to me is because he also romantically has no shot. Like, his relationship with Xiao Yao, like, he thinks she's attractive. She is
Right.
attractive, but, like, their relationship is more like buddies.
Yep.
And, like,
Mhm.
when he
Mhm.
proposes marriage, the only reason she entertains it, A, is because Tushan Jing is at that point out of the picture, um,
Right.
and because it would help and because Song Juan isn't really a romantic option for her, for reasons we got into last episode, but because it would strategically help Song Juan if she were to marry Fong Long. It would be a political marriage.
Right. Exactly. And her only real requirement is that he will never turn on Song Tuan and that she's the only woman in his life.
Yep.
So it's funny. Oh God. There's a trope that I'm not thinking of the name of right now, but he's almost like the fake out
Mhm.
quarter because by the end of the season, they're technically engaged.
Oh yeah, they
But
are the closest to wed that Xiaoyao has gotten with any of the men, despite being the least romantically involved.
but I think that's going to spell the downfall, right?
Yeah.
There is no way that she gets engaged and then happily married to someone in the middle of this whole shebang when everyone else is like not falling to shit, but all of the other relationships, let's say, are in tenuous places. Like
Mhm.
he's almost like the fall guy, if that makes
Well, like,
sense.
there's a super funny conversation in episode 39 that Tushan Jing, who we'll get into, Tushan Jing, like Fang Fang Bei shows up, and Tushan Jing is like, oh, well, like, it'll be announced soon. Like, Zhao Yao's engaged to Fenglong, and Xiang Liu is like, really? He's the one? Which is just kind of like I don't know, a viewer stand-in moment where it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
you sure about that?
Like this is the way we're
Really?
going? Okay.
But like that said, as a marriage for political purposes, and despite me continually throwing Fenglong under the bus,
You really do though. That poor man.
I think given the circumstances, he would be a good partner. I don't
I
think he
think
would
so
be a
too.
good maybe he would be good in bed. I don't think he would be a good, like, romantic lover. I think he would get the job done. But, like, I think he would be dependable, and I think he would do everything he said he would do with Xiaoyao. And they do enjoy spending time with each other and are buddies, and I think it would be fine. I think it would be perfectly acceptable.
I also think he is not opposed to listening to women. So
Mm.
I think he could be trained. Like he listens to his sister all the time. He's not like the brightest bulb in the box when it comes to relationships and romance, but I don't think he would be like, "You're just a woman. What do you know about these matters of the bedroom?" I think he would take Xiaoyao seriously. So I think Fong Long could be a good husband. I don't think he gonna make it to being husband, right? For a variety of reasons. I'm not saying he's gonna die, but I don't think he's gonna get the opportunity to be Xiaoyao's husband. He might marry somebody. Oh, I hope he doesn't die. Oh no. Oh, that'd
Yeah,
be
now that you said that,
devastating.
I'm very concerned because not all of these
Oh,
characters are making it to the end,
no,
and
yeah. And it came out my mouth, and my brain was like, that's probably what's gonna happen. Damn, damn. He gonna die for Sanchuan, isn't he? Because that's who you think he really is in love with.
okay, well, yeah, yeah, to, yeah. So there's this theory. I think it came out of post-colonial theory, and I don't remember which book it was like in relation to, but about love triangles in which it is not actually about the woman.
Didn't someone just post about that in like one of the Facebook groups we're in?
One of
And
one
someone
of
shared an
my
article?
one of my postdoc friends was trying to remember who it was, and I think it like came out of something from Eve Sedgwick, but the thing specifically that she was looking for was in relationship to post-colonial theory stuff. But
Okay.
it's a claim that when you have a love triangle in some text between two men and a woman, it is not actually about the woman. It is the two men working out their own romantic feelings for each other through the woman. And I think that an argument could be made that this is the case specifically for how Fenglong feels about Song Juan. Because when Fenglong proposes to Zhao Yao, she asks him why, and his first answer is like, "Oh, well, like I enjoy spending time with you. You're fun to talk to, and whatever." And her first response is, "Okay, well, like you could get that at a brothel. So why do you really want to marry me?" And then his real answer was for Song Juan. So
Mhm. Mhm. Look, I'm not gonna tell you it's a bad reasoning. I'm perhaps somewhat convinced that this is
I mean, I
actually the
don't think the
case.
C drama would ever fully go there
No, of
for C
course
drama
not.
reasons.
Of course
Um,
not.
but I mean, and the other reason why Fang La ain't got no shot is like when Zhao Yao dies and or is in mortal peril, Song Juan, Tushan Jing, and Xiang Liu all know instantly
Yep.
and drop
Mhm.
everything
Everything.
and
Yep.
go to her.
Yep.
And Fang Long at that point despite specifically having promised Song Zhuan that he will not leave and will stay and look after Xiaoyao, is not there because he is
Yep.
off doing something for Song Zhuan.
Yep. Yep. And I will say, I mean, the reason I actually think he doesn't have a shot is because he was not there in the mortal realm when Xiaoyao was when Xiao Liu.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know her and fall in love with her while she was a man. So he has no shot. He has no shot. I know Sang Chuan knew her beforehand, so I'm giving him a pass because he was there and did a bunch of terrible things. But like the others have such a long amount of time before him, like that he's not skirting in and
No.
winning the love decathlon here. That's not the wave. No matter how much I adore him and think he'd be a great husband.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say about Fenglong before we keep it moving is there is also, I think, a mirroring, and we kind of started this with him, between Fenglong and Song Zhuan's characters. And there
Yes.
is this very telling conversation that Fenglong and Song Zhuan have where Fenglong, I don't even remember who asked the other one first, but they ask her, like, do you like my little sister? She's like, my Mei Mei, because of her status or for her personality.
I think Fong Long asked first, and then Sun Chuan asked kind of
The same
in
quest.
response.
So, and
Yeah.
that is how Song Zhuan and Jin Yu are using each other, and that is how Feng Long and Zhao Yao, if they were to work out, would be using each other.
Yeah. And I think the thing too is that the question is, does one of these relationships survive or do none of them survive? Because I feel like Jinyue and Sang Xuan have a better shot. But I'm not convinced that anyone's going to live now that I said that Fang Long might die. So,
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
we saw, like, that opening episode is, like, felt to me like the end of the previous book where everyone died.
mm, oh boy. Stress in episode 3 of our podcast here. But all right, let's keep it moving. I love Fang Long, but there's somebody who I love even more who we need to talk about. And that is Xiang Liu, aka Feng Feng Bei, who is terrible and I love him. If you can't tell, we're getting into the delirious hour of our mini-series here.
Yeah,
All recorded in one day.
you may listen to these separately, but we recorded them together, which, remains to be seen if that was a good idea.
Yeah, we're running on cheese and crackers right now. It's amazing.
And our deep love of Xiang Liu and demons.
Yes. That's fair. He kind of like lives under the surface of my brain for this current period of time, I should say. So this man is a snake demon,
A 9-headed snake demon.
right? In the subtitles, he is called a snake demon, but when I was looking him up on the internet, they called him a sea demon. So I've decided that both are true and he is a sea snake demon because he does have like a magical seashell that like goes under the sea. But do you want to give some Zhang Liu context because I'm just a bucket of thirst and no content?
So Zhang Liu is interesting because, like we mentioned earlier, he would be the enemies to lovers trope.
Mhm.
He is leading, or the advisor to the leader
Yeah.
of the Chanrong rebels, and he is not specifically necessarily invested in the Chanrong rebels' cause, but he
Mm.
has a lot of personal loyalty to that leader, and also, like, wants to take good care of the men.
He might not have personal investment in the cause, but I think he does have investment in the people,
Mhm.
which makes him really interesting.
And he's spent so long fighting for it now, centuries,
Right.
that it's his cause now.
Mhm. Mhm.
So he meets Xiaoyao when she is in the form of a man in Qingshui village, and essentially recruits her to make medicine.
I think coerce is probably a better word than recruit.
Forces her to join his side secretly under the condition that she refuses to go up, that she will do whatever, but she will not leave Qingshui town.
Yeah.
Because she does not wish to be discovered. And then he suspects from the beginning that she's a
Mhm.
woman, but is not sure. So
Yeah.
let's think a little bit about Zhang Liu and Xiaoyao in their Qingque
Sure.
town era before we move
Sure.
into thinking about Zhang Liu as Fangfang Bei.
Yeah, because I do think that marks a dramatic shift for the character. So, in this earlier era, Xiang Liu was kind of an asshole
Mhm.
to Xiaoyao. He's
Oh,
kind
kind
of a
of is
real
an
dick.
understatement.
Yeah, I'm being kind to him. He's a real dick to him, her. He forces Xiao Liu into his service. He like kidnaps him sometimes and takes him away. He's not very caring about her, like her
Well,
physical
so
well-being,
these what I stole from someone on Tumblr, who called them weird little dates.
which is
uh,
accurate.
they follow this pattern of Zhang Lu kidnapping or otherwise coercing Xiao Yao to come with him because he needs something. They will have
Right.
some sort of like emotionally intimate
Charged.
exchange,
Mhm.
sexually charged often
Mhm.
exchange, and then Zhonglu will get wildly uncomfortable and then perform some act of violence that brings it to a close.
Like flipping her out of a chair or throwing her off a bird into the sea or knocking her out of a tree. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. And uh, the reason that you have given me, that the people on Tumblr have given you, is that because he is a relatively young demon, he does not necessarily understand the difference between having a hunger for a human and having a different kind of desire for a human being.
Yeah.
And freaks him out. So he's
Oh,
kind
he's
of
also always
constantly,
threatening to eat her.
yeah, 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 yeah. Because demons gotta eat, right? But there's some play there on the eating. Um, and it's funny because in these early stages, there is no way that I would be like, yes, Zhang Lu is a good match for Xiao Yao. They should end up together because he's just a little too terrible to her in this
Yeah,
stage.
it's very much like the enemies to lovers phase where they both hate each other, but also like maybe should fuck.
Yeah. And then there's this weird level of respect between the two of them. Like I might throw you off a
Hmm.
bird, but I deeply respect how you think about your family and oh, you might have whipped me multiple times, but I really respect the way you take care of your men. Like it's weird.
Well,
They're
and also
weird.
at the same time, Zhao Yao is constantly developing stronger poisons to try and poison him to death.
Yes. Because that's, as you do. As you do.
Like, it is not a one way trying to kill each other. It is
No.
it is mutual.
Yeah. Yeah. Though interestingly, something you learn later in the series is that Zhenglu gets stronger with poison, like he's cultivated through poison. So she's
Yeah,
actually just helping to make him stronger the
just
entire
helping him
time,
out.
which is kind of funny. Oh, yes. So last episode, when we were talking about Songchuan, we mentioned the poison bugs. So is it okay to transition and talk about the love bugs here, you think?
Yes, I think the love bugs do a good job of bringing us from Zhanglu to Fangfang Bay as well.
Yeah. So when Xiao Yao realizes that the mean wine merchant who has been torturing her, who she kind of might have helped Zhang Liu set up to try to murder him, because Zhang Liu and Sang Xuan are on opposite sides of this conflict, obviously.
Mhm.
Sang Xuan came to the mortal realm to hunt him down. That was one of the reasons why he was there. So, like, they're not buddies. But during that fight, Xiao Yao realizes that Sang Xuan is her brother. Um, this is after she's put the love bug in him. And so she needs to find a way to get that love bug out
Mhm.
because she doesn't want to hurt Huguge. She doesn't want to do that. This is why you don't just poison people with things that you don't understand how they work, Xiao Yao.
Yeah, Zhao Yao.
But
Can't just be out here poisoning people.
you can't unless they want it like Shang Lu, but anyhow, because the snake demon has started developing feelings for Jia Yao, even if he does not quite understand that that's the case. He agrees to have Zhao Yao move the love bug from Sangchuan into him. Now, he found out how to do this, and and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think he knows that it has something to do with the love in your heart that you have for a person.
Yeah, that's the way he goes to, like, a folk
I
medicine
I
person.
thought that was the old man. I thought that was the Shenrong leader.
It might be, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I clearly was not picking up on all the details, but he goes to someone and actually finds out more about what the love bugs are, how they work, what the stakes are, which Xiaoyao did not realize before
Nope.
putting the bug in Songjuan. But he, fully knowing the stakes and like what is at stake here,
Mhm.
agrees to have the love bug moved from Songjuan into him.
Yep. Fun fact that talking to you, I just realized, but the love bugs only worked on Sanjuan because he loved Xiaoyao so much.
Oh yeah, but it's the love bugs are so interesting as like a narrative conceit because they went into Songjuan because he loved Xiao Yao, but they
Mhm.
couldn't fully stick. I
Yeah.
think because he didn't their relationship was not like fully mutual. It wasn't fully developed enough, so like they didn't
Yeah.
settle. But like the first time Xiao Yao tried to put the bugs in Xiang Liu, which was her original intended use for them, it wouldn't
It
go
didn't
in
work.
because in order to
Mhm.
go in, you have to love each other.
Yep. There has to be mutual affection there.
So for Xiang Liu to agree and for it to be possible for him to take the
Mhm.
love bugs, it says a lot about how their relationship developed and like what is
Mhm.
happening.
Mhm. Mhm. So he takes the love bugs, and when it comes out that Wen Xiaoyu is actually Xiao Yao, he's kind of upset about it because they bonded over the fact that they are both kind of outcasts who are
And
making their own
abandoned
way.
people.
Yeah. So when he finds out that she actually has a whole a whole rich daddy that's been looking for her the whole time, he's very upset and he tricks Anyan into like throwing her off a cliff. Which like Anyan,
Ugh,
girl. Oh, that's your girl, Karim.
I know. She needs some strong parenting.
She really does, and she does not have it. But anyhow, after that sequence, and after another weird date where he saves her after she falls in the ocean, and he's like, "You got to kiss me to live," and she's like, "I'd rather die," but it's because she doesn't want to fall in love with a bad boy, which I thought was actually a really cute way to do that. He was like, "Why would you rather die instead of kiss me?" And she's like, "Because the most terrible thing would be to fall in love with somebody like you." And I was like, "Ooh, girl, it's too late for you." But anyhow, he disappears for a little while, and the focus is on Songchuan and Tushan Jing and her rebuilding connections with her family. But then, when they go into what is it, Xi'an Town?
Yeah, Jiantown.
Yeah, Xi'an Town, which is like the big city, one of the big cities in Xi'an Kingdom. There's a very handsome man there who is wearing Zhang Lu's face, and his name is Feng Fengbei. And Xiao Yao was like, I think I know who you are. And he's like, I don't know who you think I am. Who do you want me to be? And like, is very suave. And also, like, he's wearing a different wig. So his hair is black instead of white, which is what Zhang Liu's hair color is. And it's like, he's really like the consummate playboy. And it does it for me. I'm gonna stop talking because it seemed like you had something to say. And I was
Yeah,
just gonna be like,
I
Feng Feng Bei.
was gonna give a little context.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So Feng Feng Bei is interesting in and of himself because he is a a playboy, and he's not like one of the top clans, but he is one of the like aristocratic families, and he's also the
Mhm.
brother of Miss Feng Feng Ying Ying or Yi
Who we
Ying,
hate.
who is engaged to Tushan Jing. So he has this whole other identity that is like fully entangled with all of the like
Mhm,
deity
mhm,
drama that Xiao Yao is getting entangled in once she resumes her identity as the elder princess of Howling. And there's a
mhm.
way in which I think that doubling between Feng Feng Bei and Jiang Liu is very, very interesting and fraught because in
Yes,
some ways,
yes.
in a lot of ways, if Feng Feng Bei was just Feng Feng Bei, he could be the most suitable partner for Xiao Yao
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
because he's a
But he's
playboy,
not.
but he's like a pretend playboy. He cultivates the reputation of a playboy, but he like actually I mean, arguably, this is a spicy take, but I
Mm.
think he does one of the most tangibly useful and important things for Xiaoyao by teaching her archery.
Huh. That is a spicy take. I don't necessarily disagree though. I think teaching her archery and enabling her to defend herself is super important and is something that she's going to be able to fall back on for the
Well,
rest of
and
the story.
it's so different even than the way that Tushan Jing and Song Zhuan treat her because they both
Yeah.
want to be there to protect her, and he
Yeah.
knows that he can't and won't be, so he wants to help her protect herself.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And something else kind of building on that that sets him apart is he's watching all of the things that are happening around them. Kind of like he's in it, yes, but he's also kind of watching it from the outside.
Mhm.
And I think he's gathering a lot of information about the relationships in kind of this tangled mess of intrigue that then he only knows, right?
Mhm.
That is then not shared with other people, but that he tries to like cue her in on, but she doesn't want to listen to.
Yeah, if Xiaoyao listened to Zhang Lu more, she would know so much more about what was going on with everyone.
Yep. Hmm. In his role as Feng Kong Bei, there's just a lot of knowledge that he has
Mhm.
about some of our least favorite characters, but also about like the interplay between characters that we really enjoy. One thing that I do kind of want to note about his character that I think is very interesting because as we've talked about in the other episodes, a lot of time is encapsulated over the course of these 39 episodes, like decades and
Mhm.
decades and decades and decades pass. But we learn that the original Fong Fong Bei was kind of a no good son of a gun and
Mhm.
ran away from home to die in the vast cold north.
To escape his gambling debts.
Yeah. But he ran into our snake demon and begged Jean Lu to take care of his dying mother.
His
So,
poor concubine, lowborn
yeah,
mother. So, like,
that's important. Yeah.
yeah, so he has a different, the original Fong Fong Bei has a different mother than Fong Fong Yiying, I think.
Hmm. So, Zhang Yu
Mhm.
agrees to do this and takes on kind of the guise of Feng Feng Bei and takes care of this dying woman and acts
For
kind
several
of
years.
for quite some time and takes on this role of a pious son who's looking for forgiveness. And I think that experience, because I'm not quite sure where to place it on the timeline, but I think that experience of having a mother, which is what he calls it, he got to experience what it was like to have a mother, kind of changes his outlook and how he moves through the world.
Mhm.
Because I think even in his demon form, he treats Xiaoyao differently and he interacts with other characters differently than before that happened.
Mhm.
And now they both have mommy issues. So it brings them closer together.
Yeah. I think the other thing I really, really like about Zhang Lu and Fong Fong Bei is
Mhm.
that I don't know, like, as in part because of the love bug setup, like,
Mhm.
he knows when Xiao Yao needs him or needs
Yeah.
someone, and he shows up
Yeah, he does.
every time.
Oh, can we talk really quickly about when Xiaoyao dies?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Xiaoyao gets murked.
It's not funny, but it's funny.
It was funny how I said it. I'm sorry. I should have had more decorum. Because it's really a terrible, terrible, terrible.
Oh, it's painful and
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. But as Corinne mentioned beforehand, part of why Fenglong doesn't have a chance is that Tushan Jing, Sanchuan, and Xiang Liu know what's happening. So he's on his way from like across the world to find out what happened.
And he is also at this point suffering because he feels her
Yes.
pain.
And is going to be going into enemy territory. It's not like he's
Yeah.
just going to the Poconos, right? This is like bad for him. These are the people he's been trying to avoid forever. So he goes to I guess it's Shangshuan's hold, his castle where
Yeah.
he's staying. And in essence, they kind of have a standoff where he's like, if you don't let me get to Xiaoyao, we're all going to lose her and she is going to die for real. Like what you
Mhm.
did has been keeping her alive just a little bit, but if I can't get to her now, that's it. So Sangshuan, because he loves Xiaoyao so much, is like, okay. And Zhang Lu takes her to the bottom of the sea for 37 years and feeds her blood from his heart to help bring her back to life.
And gives her I significantly one of his 9 lives.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's
And talks to her while she's comatose and like that's
which
devotion,
also
man.
because he knows that, like, the thing that she is most afraid of is loneliness and being alone, so, like,
Mhm.
he's not a talkative dude, that's not his well, he's a little more talkative as Fong Fong Bei, but,
Mhm.
like, yeah, I don't know, man, like, I don't think he's endgame, but, like, I am, like, pained for him
Yep.
by thinking about that.
Yep. And for me, it was the second and third movements of the show, right? So let's say pre Zhao Yao death and post Zhao Yao death, but post
Mhm.
Hard Times, Model Time City. That made me say, okay, I can see why he's even in the running. Because he'll do some demony things that I'm like, that's too demony. You can't marry that man. but but he also sacrificed his heart blood for her. You know what I mean? In one of
Mhm.
his 9 lives, you know? And I don't know. I think this might be my spicy take, but I think the character that I've seen the most character development from over the course of the show is Zhang Liu.
Mm.
I think he's the one that's been changed the most by his relationship with Xiao Yao and by everything else that's been going on in the show. I don't know what's going to happen to him at the end, but like he even this is funny because it got a little messy here, but like he says in exchange for bringing Xiao Yao back, he wants a place for the Chenrong soldiers on one of the mountains so that their bodies can be returned to their homeland.
Yeah, a place to spread their ashes, essentially.
Yeah. And Sang Shuan is like, "Oh, he'd never do anything without, blah 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 blah."
He would never do anything for nothing.
Yeah. I was being not facetious, but I was being a little snooty about it because like I'm like, "Sang Shuan, you don't know. You don't know how much this demon loves your sister." But anyhow, it's funny for me because I think he would have saved Xiaoyao regardless, but he's like, "I
Mhm.
can also use this to help the soldiers find their peace." Because he cares about them, and there's a change in how he thinks about humanity, I think, because of the Fang Fang Bei persona.
Yeah, and also, like, part of the reason why Xiao Yao first softens on Zhang Liu in the first place is seeing him care about the well-being of his
Mhm,
troops and of his
mhm.
soldiers, like, when there's a I don't know, I think they're getting sick from the miasma or something. Anyway, they need
Yeah,
a cure
mhm,
for reasons, and because Xiao Yao cares about helping people and healing people, she can respect and support that.
mhm, mhm. So I could talk about this man forever because my feelings for him run deep.
Alright, there are 2 more things, I think, and the second one, I think, can transition us into Tushan Jing.
Okay. Well, what's the first one?
We would be remiss if we did not talk about how hot it was when Zhonglu drinks her blood.
Oh, yeah, he be pulling a vampire, bro, and we all know we all know what vampires are. Sex. So, like bruh, yeah, they're pretty hot. So he bites her on the neck, like in the mortal realm. But when she's back in her female body, she won't let him do that anymore. And he has to bite her on the wrist.
The scene where he, like, reveals that that he as Fong Fong Bei is Zhonglu and he needs some of her blood to heal, and she realizes that she's been right the whole
Mm-hmm.
time that he's
Mm-hmm.
Zhonglu, and then also will give him her blood but won't let him bite her on the neck anymore, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that was so, like, heart-wrenching to me because
Yeah,
he looks
he
so,
was
like,
devastated.
betrayed.
Mm-hmm. He's so hurt. But he knows he fucked up. So like it's kind of like, all right, I'll take your wrist. But I will also say that that sequence is also very hot because it's
Oh,
like he's
yeah.
kissing her wrist. So, like, he's sad, but I'm not. I think it worked very well.
I think I mentioned this in our Demon Lovers episode, but there's some of the stuff, including this, that Zhang Liu did where I was like, That was like part of my demon awakening.
I'm going to call it that from now on, your demon awakening. Oh, that's phenomenal.
I was
That's
like,
fantastic.
oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
But then the second thing I wanted to bring up that I think is really interesting and difficult in Xiang Liu and Xiaoyao's relationship is that when he feels her pain, he feels about 1/9 of her pain because he has 9 heads, whatever.
Mhm.
Immortal math. Um, but when she is heartbroken after what goes down with Tushan Jing, he feels that one
Mm.
for one.
Because you only have one heart, even though you have
Mhm.
9 heads. Mhm. Mhm.
So, like, Sangjuan suspects how heartbroken Xiaoyao is, but Fang Fangbei knows.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. And that's tough because he also loves her. So he's got the weird kind of mixture of jealousy like Sanjuan does, but also knows things about what's going on with Tu Shanjing because he's playing as Miss Fong Fong's brother. So it's complex. It's complicated.
And he also the reason he can't be with her is he's not willing to give up his cause.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Heartbreaking in its own way. Do we want to use this sadness then? Because we've talked around Tu Shanjing a lot. And I think it's important to turn to him now to talk about him a bit. Oh, Tushan Jing. So we meet this man as a sad, beat up, almost dead, kind of like half corpse at the
Yeah.
side of the river.
Outside of Ching Sui Town.
Hmm. This is like really hard times in Mortal Time City for this poor guy. And at first they ignore him, like, oh, there's this weird beggar. We're not gonna pay him any
Let's
attention,
not fuck with that.
you know? But Xiaoyao, because she actually does care about people, brings him back to heal him with her mortal, but yeah, with her mortal medicine, right?
And her magic blood.
And kind of brings him back from the brink of death.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got all these injuries. He's not healed. I don't want to say not healed completely. That's not quite right. There are some things she cannot reset because of her abilities, right? And the lack of her having spirit energy. But he is so thankful for her kindness, for her care and attention, because this is not the kind of care and attention that he's had from anyone in a really, really long time, that he devotes himself to Wen Xiaoyu
Mm-hmm.
and is gonna like be there through thick and thin, which like pokes at Xiao Yao's biggest issue of abandonment and needing to leave people before they
Mm-hmm.
leave her. So kind of the push and pull that's set up between these two from this moment where she names him Yishichi, which means 17 leaves, was it?
I think so, yeah.
To where we end up in the final episode is him saying, I'm completely devoted to you. Her being like, yeah, right, we'll see. But also, I'm kind of into it. I like you. Him fucking up, sometimes his fault, sometimes, a lot of the times, not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
And her being like, no, fuck this. I'm running away. And him being like, but no, I love you more than anything in the world. And it's this push and pull that is like, at times, it like ramps up from little things in the beginning where he like breaks a rule and she's like, fuck you, Yishiki. Yishichi, I'm not talking to you anymore. And he's like, I'm sorry, here's some flowers you really like. To the ultimate devastation that's at the end of the show. And it's just like, I just want him to be happy, bro. Do you want to give a little backstory about like who he really is?
Yeah. So
Don't laugh at my pain. This is real.
it's very real. But we find out that Ishichi is actually Tushan Jing, so he's like the heir apparent of the Tushan clan, who
Mm-hmm.
are descended from fox spirits, and they are an extremely wealthy merchant class
Mm-hmm.
family.
Mm-hmm.
But he, as Tushan Jing, is actually already engaged to Fenglong Yiying,
Boo.
who it turns out, and this comes out pretty early, like near the endish of the Qingshui town sequence,
Mhm.
that the reason that Yishichi was in such dire straits is because his older brother, Tushan Hao, is the one
Ooh.
who tortured him
For 10 years?
methodically for a long time. It was
Yeah.
certainly years. And something that is, I think, very interesting as well, this is just a side note, is that like Xiaoyao has the experience of living in a cage and being tortured by the fox demon for 40 years.
Mhm.
Xiang Liu has the experience of living in a cage and being like a demon slave fighter for a number of years. And
Mhm.
then Tushan Jing also has this experience of being caged and being tortured for years. So like
Xin Yu also had her experience of being a
she had an experience of being a hostage princess or
yeah.
a hostage lady, but I think there is something different. It
Oh, for
it, it
sure.
is still certainly an experience of being powerless, but that's more along the lines of Song Juan being a
Yeah.
hostage
Mhm.
prince
Mhm.
in Howling, where the king of Howling was actually very kind to him.
Yeah.
And Jin Yu did not have quite that
No.
experience.
Mm-mm.
But like those three know what it's like
Yeah.
not
Mhm.
not just to live in a cage, but to be like painfully tortured for years. And for
Mhm.
Tushan Jing in particular, that was done to him by his brother, whom he loved
Mhm.
and adored.
Adored, yeah.
But it turns out it's because Tushan Hao was born from a different mother, so Tushan Jing's mom was a bitch to him, but he did not respond to that, I think, in the appropriate way.
No. No. He took it out on Jing. It's not Jing's fault, and this is a lot of things are not Jing's fault, and that's why I get so upset watching the show. But anyhow, part of what the struggle then becomes is that Jing doesn't want to be Tushan Jing. He wants to be Yishichi, and he wants to be by Xiao Yao's side. That's really all he wants. But the responsibility of being heir apparent, of his engagement to Miss Fong Fong, to running the family, like his wants are not what's important, right?
Well, and there's also this interesting like class consciousness level where like when he is
Yeah.
first revealed to be Tushan Jing, when Zhao Yao is still Wen Zhao Liu,
Mhm.
he becomes so far out of her league
Yeah.
that like
Mhm.
he's not even like in the same stratosphere. Like
Right.
like his servant's servant was the wealthiest man in Qingshui town. Like
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
was like their
Mhm.
landlord and like all of this stuff. But then it sort of flip flops when Xiao Yao is revealed to be Xiao Yao because now,
Mhm.
like, maybe if he stretches, Tushan Jing is almost good enough for
Right.
the elder princess of Howling.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, like, there's this incredible awareness of social positioning and relative power and connection in the development of their relationship when
Yeah.
really all he wants is just to be Yishichi who can stay by her side, but like there are
Mhm.
so many things that are stopping him from being able to be that.
Mhm. Mhm. Most of which is Miss Fong Fong, but that's neither. No, actually, that is the heart of the matter. That's not neither here or there. That's kind of like the important thing is that when Xiao Yao returns to Howling, he says, "Give me 15 years to get out of this engagement and don't fall in love with another man until I can get out of this." And he's trying desperately to break off the engagement, but because she has so embedded it herself in the Tushan family, right? And just
Mhm.
because, like, breaking off a marriage is always going to be more difficult for a woman than it is for a man, in these contexts.
A lot of the things that keep happening here is that if Tushan Jing was a meaner person, like if
Mm-hmm.
he was willing to hurt Fong Fong Yiying or kill her or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, then he could do it.
Right.
Like as I think Song Juan even like explicitly points that out. Like it is difficult to convince her to agree to end the engagement. It is not difficult to end the engagement.
Yeah. And that's why Xiao Yao loves Jing and not Sanchuan, because Sanchuan's kind of a ruthless man. Or I should say romantically loves. She does love her brother very much. But also Xiao Yao does say multiple times that if he was not such a kind man, he would not be Tu Jing, and he would not be the man that she loves.
Mhm.
So they're just constantly in this devastating back and forth in which they will have these beautiful moments of affirming each other and being there for each other and loving each other. Like, for example, this man made her 12 sets of hand painted wine bottles to ship one to her
Mhm.
every so often so that she could know he was thinking of him, but then had to stop because one of his ladies in waiting was compromised and there was a spy in their midst and all that kind of stuff.
And he didn't want his trouble to turn into Xiaoyao's trouble. But then, like, the
Mhm.
thing about that is so it's so tuned to, like, poke exactly at Xiaoyao's weaknesses, is that,
Mhm.
like, he's when he stops sending the wine to her, he, like she
Mhm.
associates I think it's green plum wine or something.
Yeah.
She expects to get it now to know that he's missing her, so when she stops getting it without explanation, she's like, "Oh, well, he must not miss me anymore, like, he must not love me anymore. I should move on because I cannot wait for someone who has abandoned me."
Mhm.
Like, she says something, like, along the lines that, like it's very, like, coded because it's to
Right.
Sirens asking if she wants more wine, and she says, like, "Oh, like, when it starts to taste like waiting, I don't want it anymore."
Right. Mhm. Mhm. So, I know there's something in particular that I wanna scream and rant and rave about, but before I do that, was there anything about Jing that you really wanted to highlight and focus on? He's also a fox, and you love foxes, so, you
I
know.
do love foxes. Something that I think is really interesting about this actor actually, is I
Mm.
think he does a spectacular job as Tushan Jing, which is interesting because he was kind of a cardboard cutout in, Till the End of the Moon. He played another character
Oh.
in Till the End of the Moon who was so incredibly dull,
Mm.
that it was a extremely pleasant surprise to see him give this kind of layered, again, yearning performance
Yeah. Mhm.
where he's soft. He's like a soft,
Yeah.
more of like a beta than an alpha. Like in his quote unquote like brotherhood with Fenglong and Zhang, he's not
Yeah.
in it for power. He's in
Mm-mm.
it because he's the smarty pants, but he's in it because Xiaoyao asked him to.
And also for love because Fenglong is his sworn brother,
Yeah.
right?
'Cause he
You know.
supports his bros, but, like, in particular, like, he supports Song Juan, who I don't even know if he especially likes, because he supports Xiaoyao unconditionally.
Yeah, I don't think he likes Sanjuan, actually. I would go out on a limb and say that they don't like each other. Yeah, no, you make an excellent point. I think he's the softest of all the male leads,
Mhm.
which is, I don't know why it's so painful to see him constantly thwarted in his efforts to be loving and be caring.
I mean, I think it's I'm sorry, you had something you wanted to say, but really
Mm-mm.
quickly, I think that is both why he would be someone who I think he would be difficult to be with in real life because he's so devoted to such a degree, but
Mm,
it is that level of devotion that Zhao Yao almost requires
sure.
in
Mhm.
order to have a
Mhm.
successful romantic relationship.
Yeah.
But like his ambition is to love Zhao Yao. That's it.
Oh, mm. That just, like, hit me in the heart.
It is the ambitions of the other men that make them inappropriate for her in the long run
Yeah.
or
He's just
incompatible
supposed to
with
love
her.
her. I'm not crying, but I feel it in my heart. Oh, I was gonna say something, but then you hit me with his ambition is to love Xiaoyao. Oh my god.
Whew.
I lost my thought.
You
I
were like
lost it.
getting heated too about something.
Oh, no, I know what I'm heated about, but there was something
Okay.
else I was gonna say. Oh, I remember. I remember. So something you've been bringing up kind of in the episodes of this mini series is kind of conversations about disability.
Oh, yeah, good. Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I like about this is that they affirm each other, both their internal and external scars. I don't
Mhm,
think Tu Shanjing ever wants Zhao Yao to be something that she's not, and kind of takes in experiences with both versions of Zhao Yao as a holistic experience, right?
mhm. Yeah, he says specifically, like, that if she is never able to regain her form as a woman, and if she is Wen Jiaolu forever, he is just fine with that and is still happy to
Mhm.
spend the rest of his life with her that way.
Mhm. Mhm. And he is a character also that is visibly marked by what happened to him, by how torturing him. And on one hand, he does not want to change any of those scars because they are representative of his time with Wen Jiaolu. But also, Xiaoyao says that you are kind of perfect the way you are. And whether you want to get magically fixed or not, you are perfect. Right. So for example, he plays the Zephyr and
Mhm.
everyone talks about how beautifully he played before the accident and how he's never played again. And what she says is, I never heard you play before. So whatever you play now is perfect because it comes from you as you are. And I remember his reaction to that was so affirming, right?
Mhm.
And it just to me spoke to the depths of how they appreciate and care about each other.
Well, and going back even to the beginning of their relationship, when he decides that I think he loves her and is devoted to her is
Mhm.
when and when he realizes that she is a woman and is
Mhm.
certain of it is after spending like a year, like a long time caring for him and like bringing him back to
Mhm.
himself. So like Xiao Yao at this point has like seen his naked body, but
Multiple times.
in the
Mhm.
role of a doctor. But when he is like sort of back together and like he needs to bathe, she goes to like take off his clothes and is like making jokes about like, oh well, like you think there's anything of you I haven't seen? But
Mhm.
then she goes to take them off and like gets embarrassed. And that's when he realized the way she responds is like a woman being like shy around a
A
man,
man's
and that
naked
she
body.
still sees him as an attractive man to make her
Yeah.
feel that
Mhm.
way is
Mhm.
what it's just sort of like the beginning for them, I think.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
And it's so
Oh
opposite, like,
god.
there's a moment when, Fang Fang Yiying walks into his room and sees him shirtless and sees all of the scars that he has, and
Mhm.
they are horrible, not in the sense that it makes him unattractive, but, like, it is indicative of, like, how much he suffered,
Right. Indicative of the pain. Mhm.
but she thinks it's disgusting
Right. Mhm.
and
Drops the
horrifying.
bowl. So that actually oh, finish your thought. Go ahead.
But that, like that appreciation that Xiao Yao has of Tushan Jing is part of why he appreciates her, and also I think why their
Mm.
relationship is like the foundation of their relationship is very much based on mutual respect and attraction,
Mhm.
and the
And care.
circumstances make their relationship very, very difficult. But the
Yeah.
foundation of their relationship is, I think, really strong because of that.
Mhm. Mhm. So that actually leads me perfectly into the thing that I'm mad about. Not to
Mhm.
and we should say something happy or something else about Tushan Jing after this, because I don't want to end on him by talking about these two motherfuckers. But Yi Ying and Hao are the worst. And they're the worst, A, because Hao tortured poor Tushan Jing, right? To the point where he was pretty much going to die in the mortal realm. But also, Yi Ying, Feng Feng Yi Ying, is in a clandestine, like,
Affair.
affair with Hao. And they are
Who
both
is married
who
to
is
another.
married. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I feel bad for Hal's wife, who is largely like an incidental character, and I'm sure she's gonna fill a plot purpose. But like,
Oh, didn't he kill her?
I think they left it open ended enough. Okay, so later in the drama, for people who haven't seen it, Feng Feng Yiying, we find out is pregnant, and this is the thing we need to talk about, isn't it? But she's pregnant. It's Hal's baby.
We all know it. Except for their grandma. Their grandma don't know because she's dumb.
But that information will, I'm sure, in some way
Oh,
get to
sure.
Tushan Jing that the baby's not his. But and I think this is what you wanted to talk about how Tushan Jing thought the baby might be his because of a particular sequence of events.
Oh, well, I just want to talk about the baby. The baby made me mad altogether. But we can talk about that, yeah, specific sequence of events. I was just going to talk about how much I hate Hao and Fong Fong because they're conspiring against like the sweetest man in the world, and it just makes them extra evil.
So that maybe then I guess I will set the stage for this as well.
Sure,
I
please
think
go
this is
ahead.
one of the more controversial sequences in Lost You Forever.
Mhm.
Um, After Xiaoyao dies and comes back to life, that is such a wild sentence to say. Um, But this is also like another place where Tushan Jing's devotion to Xiaoyao is so extreme to the point where
Yeah.
like it's dangerous to him. Is
Mhm.
that he is essentially in a self-induced coma and wants to die because he thinks Xiaoyao is gone.
He loves Xiaoyao more than his own life.
Yes. Which, when they are finally back up again, his whole thing is like, well, like I wanted to be able to ask for your hand in marriage honorably, so I wasn't willing to let go of my identity as Tushan Jing. I can let it go now. Like being with you is the most important thing to me.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
And then things happen that prevent him from being able to do that. So he is manipulated into being installed as the new clan leader of the
mhm,
Tushan clan. And then Miss Grandma gives Tushan Jing and Fang Fang Yiying an aphrodisiac after Miss Fang Fang pretends that to commit suicide when Jing tries to break off the engagement.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
she sucks. She
She
sucks so
sucks.
much.
She really does.
But Grandma gives them both an aphrodisiac, and they, it is implied, sleep together. So then, when Yi Yang is pregnant and it's Hao's baby, there is enough doubt and for Tushan Jing to believe that it's his and that
Mhm.
he now has to marry her, and that's that. And Zhao Yao, upon learning this, breaks things off with Tushan Jing. And
Completely. Completely breaks things off.
I think we should talk about what we think about Zhao Yao's response to this, because an accurate reading of this is that she is victim blaming Tushan Jing for
Mhm.
being roofied
Right.
and
Mhm.
breaking up with him because of that. And I think that is a perfectly legitimate reading. However, I also think, given what we know of Zhao Yao, and perhaps I am cutting Zhao Yao too much slack here,
Mhm.
but regardless of the circumstances that brought it about, Tushan Jing got outmaneuvered and now has another woman and a baby, and that is not something she is willing to be involved in.
I think both of those things can be true, though. I
Mhm.
think she could both be blaming him for something because one of the things that she said is, all that time you studied medicine with me and you still couldn't figure it out." So she is blaming him for even taking the aphrodisiac,
Yeah.
and being put in this kind of situation. So I completely understand her needing to cut bait because she's like, "You have," because what her rules are, which I think she really comes to concretely after this, is having no other woman besides her, right? And not abandoning her. And he can't do that. He can't do that.
Mhm.
And it's too much of a heartbreak. All of the things that she wanted to kind of run from first happened to her here. And this is why she suffers such a great heartbreak, right? But also, he's drugged by someone he cares about. And honestly, I'm not convinced they had sex. I'm not convinced it actually happened because if he's going to go to such lengths for his love of Zhao Yao, I don't think an aphrodisiac is just going to overcome that.
So, I can give a little context here if you would like.
Please go ahead.
So, from someone who read the book, part of the reason that this is complicated to interpret is that aphrodisiacs work just a little differently in from C drama to C drama.
Mhm.
Like in some cases, they are like at the ridiculous level of supposedly like if you do not have sex, you will die.
Oh god.
So like you will have sex fully like it is not possible to be resisted.
Mhm.
In some other cases, and this we learn in the books is the case here, it is
Mm.
possible to resist it. So
Mhm.
part of the reason Jaya was so pissed is that it was possible to resist it and she thinks he didn't. And he
Mhm.
thinks he didn't.
Right.
So that's another level of betrayal to her.
Right. Though I will say in the show, we don't see anything happen. He just is woozy.
Yeah, so we learn apparently in the book you learn later that he actually did resist it. But because she's pregnant,
Yeah.
he thinks he didn't.
Well, I knew he did. I believed in him. I knew he wasn't gonna fall for it. Fang traps, Yi Ying. But anyhow, there's a whole ass baby now. And it's not his, but because he's a good man, is gonna take the responsibility for it. However, what I'm curious about is how it's going to come out. Because who knows that Fang Fang Yi and Hao are having an affair? Fang Fang Bei. He knows what's going down. He saw them kissing in the
Mhm.
maze, right? So he knows what the situation is and has not given that information to anybody yet because he's a
Man, there
demon.
there was a second in on one of my very, very favorite episodes where it's just like all every relevant player in the
Mhm.
same place. Like he was about to tell Xiaoyao that
Yep,
like at this moment in the maze, Miss Fong Fong Ying and Tushan, and then she cuts him off, and he was
yep,
about to tell her that Tushan Hao and Ying were fucking, I'm
yep.
sure.
Mhm, mhm, or at least having a very vigorous makeout session. But, like, he was gonna tell her, and she didn't listen. But Hao's wife also knows, and we
Yep.
don't know if she's alive. So, I wanna know when this is gonna come out, if the child is gonna be, like, fully grown already, and because time is so a tool for storytelling, right? In
Mhm.
this, I'm really, really curious where we're gonna come in with season 2 and how this information is gonna come out. Because that's not Jing's baby, and I was yelling it at the screen. No one could hear me, obviously.
You were also texting it to me in all caps.
Yeah, because I was angry, and you're the only one that would understand my rage. So, yeah, I've been mad about that since I finished the show. I'm like, "This is where you're gonna leave me? Knowing that there's an illegitimate baby when Jing could just be happy over here with Xiaoyao, but now they're both heartbroken and sad? Man, damn it." So, do you have a happy thought to end for Jing, though? Because this just makes me sad and I'm angry again.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's endgame.
That does make me happy. Okay.
Like, I don't know for sure. Book people don't come at me. I don't know, but also apparently there is like despite my own personal difficulty in choosing, there is like a little bit of a shipping war between like especially Xiang Liu and Tushan Jing about who should get Zhao Yao in the end.
Hmm.
And I do actually think that is very interesting because apparently Xiang Liu is a much more compelling and convincing love interest for Zhao Yao in the show, in part because the
Mhm.
script fills in I think from what I've read about it, the book mostly just stays with Zhao Yao.
Okay. Mhm.
So the show is filling in a lot of gaps about stuff that Xiang Liu did behind the scenes, like learning about the love bugs and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
we just know a lot more about what he's doing for her.
Yeah.
Whereas he,
Mhm.
he comes across as much colder and uncaring in the book. But in the show, and also those two actors have such great chemistry.
They really do. Yeah. Mhm. Ooh, that scene when he was teaching her the archery, girl. Ooh,
Mm, yeah.
hot shit. Continue, please. I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, I think I am interested to see how Zhao Yao's relationship develop with all of these men
Yeah. And with the women
and
too,
with the
because I
women.
think though we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it, one of the things that I really do like in the show is the way that the women relate to each other as well.
Yeah, like Zhao Yao and Jinyu are legitimate friends. I
Yeah.
also like we didn't dwell on it, but like the development of Zhao Yao and Anyan's sisterly relationship, I
Yes.
really, really loved. Like I hated Anyan at the beginning. Like she sucks. She really
Mhm.
does. But by the end, you understand her a lot better, and part of the reason you understand her a lot better and that she mellows a little bit is because Zhao Yao is like a
Mhm.
tempering force in her
Mhm.
life in a really helpful, like anchoring sort of way.
Yeah, Xiaoyao is the only one that challenges her, right? Her
Mhm.
father lets her get away with things. Sangchuan pretty much lets her get away with things, but Xiaoyao's like, "Girl, you acting crazy," and
Mhm.
I think she responds to that. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's a whole lot of relationships that I'm excited to see develop. I need people to find out about this damn baby. But one last thought, unrelated to the love interests, that I wanted to bring up because we did touch on her relationships in the mortal realm, Xiaoya's relationships early on, but I just did kind of want to leave a final note on how important and impactful those relationships were to her, but also to me as a viewer.
Mhm.
I we don't come back to them a lot. I think she only mentions them maybe like once or twice
Mhm.
when we've moved past the mortal realm. But there were some character movements that were just so touching to me that I appreciated having them there. Like there was the woman that Skinny, one of Xiaoyao's adopted sons, ends up marrying is named Tenir, and she was a call girl, right? Who was
Mhm.
hired by Sangxuan back when he was just Xuan to get information out of Skinny about Xiao Yao. And Xiao Yao figures this out, and they have a really heart to heart kind of conversation about like, well, what do you want? Do you actually want to marry him? We will pay for your freedom and all of this kind of stuff. And even though Tanir and Xiao Yao don't have a lot of screen time together, you learn that Xiao Yao teaches her medicine. She's able to
Mhm.
like build a career. You learn about her outlook on love and her relationship with Skinny. And it was just a really touching, not insignificant, but small moment in the show
Mhm.
that is something I think will stay with me after watching the drama.
I think it's also a really good setup in thinking about foundations for relationships and how there are so many different kinds, in that like
Mm,
Skinny fully believes that Tiana loves him,
mhm,
and she knows that it's fake, but Skinny treats her well, so she will keep acting like she loves him until maybe she as long as he keeps treating her well, then like she is
mhm,
taking like Jaya has this whole conversation with Tushan Jing about it, like how like it is kind of a gamble
mhm,
to see like if this relationship was started out based on lies, it can turn into something real if Skinny can keep treating her well, if she
mhm,
can keep treating him well in return, and if like can that thing that is fake become real.
mhm, mhm. And the fact that it starts there, but almost Skinny fades into the background and becomes more about her learning to support herself and taking over the business and becoming the new kind of like head of the family, you know?
Mhm.
So in so much that perhaps the relationship started as a lie, but her being a part of the family became a very, very real thing.
Yeah.
We never learn if she actually fall eventually becomes to love Skinny, but she does love her life, and I
Yeah.
think that's kind of an interesting move for the drama to make, especially in a drama that is a romance drama, essentially.
So the last thing I want to talk about, unless you have anything
Mhm,
else, just something that I really appreciate about this drama, and I mentioned this in our first spoiler-free episode, but I just really like kind of I don't even know the right verb here, but like the way that they
mm,
show time passing was very, very beautiful to me. Like
mhm,
the way they show the seasons changing, like and there are several montages that sort of come to mind that show that very, very slow passage of time.
mhm,
The first is when they are in Qingshui town, and it's after Zhuan and Wen Jialu, so Zhao Yao as the doctor, have sort of had the falling out, but reached an uneven truce because of the love bug situation.
mhm,
And it's been months, it's maybe even been a year, I'm not but it's like deep in the winter time, and Zhao Yao has this realization when she knows that Zhuan is Sang Zhuan, and she just has this moment where she's like, if I don't like go drink with him and spend time with him now, that chance will never come again.
mhm,
And that moment of like in this long life that she feels stretching out ahead of her, like if like this is the one chance that I have and I have to take
mhm,
it.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
I think that moment of urgency in this like slow winter dead of night moment was really like touching to me.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other one, the montage that I really really remember is the New Year's scene. Um,
Oh, yeah,
in
that was a good
episode
one.
in episode 29 before
Mhm.
Xiaoyao's death. Uh,
Uh, yeah.
we see this lovely montage of how all of these characters are spending their New Year celebration and like
Mhm.
who their family are and who is important to them. So
Yeah.
like Zhao Yao and Song Juan are with the Chanrong twins.
Mhm, mhm.
And then Tushan Jing is like standing outside, like in the snow, the rest of the Tushan family. So like Hao and Feng Feng Yiying and
Boo.
grandmother
Mhm.
like toasting. And then it shows grandfather, who's the king of Jian,
Oh, yeah.
toasting by himself and like pouring a cup to like where his wife, who has been dead for 300 years, would be. And
That part made
like
me cry, yeah.
it's just so everyone was longing for something.
Mhm. Mhm. What a place to stop our conversation.
I mean, that the
Woof.
title, it would have been a mouthful in English, but "Endlessly Yearning for You" is almost more appropriate than "Lost You Forever."
Yeah. No. Damn. All right. Well, that was a very full discussion of Lost You Forever, Endlessly Yearning for You,
White wine.
Sauvignon Blanc, White Wine. We clearly had a lot of deep feelings about it. I think this is a drama that's going to stay with me for some time. And we would love to hear your thoughts about this drama too. You can head to our Instagram page at SexLoveLit to give us your feedback and thoughts and feelings. We'd love to hear them. I'll also put a question on, oh, maybe a question and a poll on Spotify with some of these episodes. So you can let us know what you think right in Spotify, if that's what you use to listen to your podcasts. But yeah, I really appreciated this discussion. I love that we had so much to say. I feel like there's still so much that we could
Oh, yeah.
say, you know, but I'm hungry. I need to have some dinner. So this has been a full jam packed series of episodes of Sex Love Literature. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye. I don't know why we waved.
We
It felt
always do.
important.